The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
And welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to discuss PoolRx Plus with Fred Schweer. He is the Vice President of Marketing over at PoolRx worldwide. We're going to go over some of the new things or features of the PoolRx product and touch on some of the basic aspects of it in this podcast. Now, this is part one of a 4-part podcast. So if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, you can find the other 3 parts for the podcast if you want to expand out and learn even more about the PoolRx product. In the description of the video, you're going to see the links for the other 3 podcast episodes where we continue the discussion on PoolRx in more in-depth detail for you there. Pool Service Pro, open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Also receive priority service, enhanced rebate programs, a discount on your general liability insurance through SPA, a discount on your pool routing software through Skimmer, and an opportunity to co-brand with Leslie's on your social media, website, truck, and more. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro. So I'm joined today by Fred Schweer of PoolRx. How you doing today, Fred?
Doing good, David. Great to be with you again.
You want to tell the listeners your position there at PoolRx?
Yeah, I'm the Vice President of Sales for PoolRx. I'm going on 12 years with the company. Yeah, we're a privately held company in San Clemente, California, and we've been in business since 1994. It's been a great company to be with, so I'm excited to be on with you today and get everybody up to date on PoolRx.
I've been using PoolRx now for several years. I can't remember when I first started using it, and I find it to be highly effective. And we'll go over some of the benefits of PoolRx in this particular podcast here. But there's a new version that came out last year, a little late in California because of, we're the nanny state, so things have to go through a pretty huge process to get on the market. So it's called PoolRx Plus, but are you putting the plus on the label now, or is just now the new version of it?
So PoolRx Plus, you will see an updated formulation. It's basically the same as PoolRx. Everything's the same as far as how it's manufactured, how it's chelated, how the minerals react with the alloy cylinder to prolong their life, to allow them to last for up to 6 months. The difference in PoolRx Plus is an improvement in the formulation. So in the lab, we developed, we added silver and zinc as EPA registered active ingredients. So PoolRx Plus now has 3 EPA registered active ingredients, including copper, zinc, and silver. And the reason for doing that was to make an improvement against all types of algae and also in reducing chlorine demand. So in the field, you will see PoolRx Plus, the actual blue unit is now blue and white, and the black unit is black and white. And that's going to show you the difference there. It's also on the label as well. It has a little plus next to PoolRx, so you'll be able to see it there as well. And of course, the active ingredients are different. That's the basic differences of it.
It's been on the market for, how long has PoolRx been actually on the market?
Yeah, so PoolRx Plus, we got out in the field last year. Obviously, we've been testing it for several years in our development process. But as far as on the market, it was launched last year. And yeah, you were right. California is the slowest to get EPA registration approval. And so finally, that came through. And this year, it is really what's going to be available through distribution across the entire nation, including California. All of our early buys for distribution were PoolRx Plus, so you're going to see PoolRx Plus available in the marketplace now.
We could touch on that EPA registration, because that's an important factor with any product out there. You don't want to just throw any product in your pool. And the EPA registration, can you go over with listeners basically?
I mean, so being EPA registered as an algaecide, we are killing and preventing algae from growing. It's not. The active ingredients in our product, because of the way it is manufactured and developed, and how the formulation works in the chemistry of the pool, it's literally killing and preventing algae. So when it's killing algae and it's an algaecide, you have to get EPA registration, and the EPA process is pretty stringent. There's a lot of testing involved, and you have to go through all of their testing and procedures to get registered. So, and the EPA is a fact of trying to keep some standards and expectations of these products to keep the public safe and to keep the environment safe. Yeah, the fact that it's EPA registered is telling you that it has been through all of the testing, that it is doing what it says it's doing. It's also safe to use when used as directed. The other one note regarding that, David, is we're also NSF 50 certified, and NSF is a third-party company that is another testing house that really puts you through another set of standards. And so we're NSF 50 certified, which is the pool water standard, and that's just another layer of comfort when you're using our product, so you can be confident that it's safe to use in your pool.
You're probably aware, like everyone else, that the cost of chlorine has gone up. Liquid chlorine has gone up like 20%. The tablets have gone up 100% in price, which is, insane out there. The pool guys are just really struggling. The pool guys and gals and the companies are struggling with the high cost of everything. And we can talk a little bit about how the PoolRx can offset some of that cost, or maybe all of the cost increase based on, how much it costs to chlorinate a pool now. What are your thoughts on using PoolRx in the service industry to offset the cost of all those chemicals that are just skyrocketing?
Yeah, that's really what is the benefit of our product. PoolRx, the original product, it's been around since 1994, is an EPA registered algaecide as well. But it's not just an algaecide. What it's doing is it's killing, first of all, any type of algae, yellow, green, black. So it'll get rid of that for you. But on the other side of it, what the minerals are doing is preventing even the microalgae in the water from growing. And it's that microalgae that's even in clear pools that is consuming your chlorine first. And so it's not the phosphates in the water that consume the chlorine. It's the algae in the water that consumes that chlorine. And so what we're doing is we're preventing even that microalgae from growing. And by doing that, it's freeing up chlorine to be more active and available. So guys are typically able to use 50% less chlorine when using PoolRx in a pool. And so in the times, even before this chlorine shortage and these increasing prices, PoolRx was already the most cost-effective solution on the market to maintain your pools. That's even when the chlorine prices were in normal ranges. Now, it is absolutely a no-brainer. I mean, it really, the cost of our product has only gone up by about 5% in the marketplace compared to the cost of chlorine. It's not even close. So if you're not using PoolRx in every pool, you're really going to have to, you're wasting money. You're going to spend so much more on these chlorine, any type of chlorine you're using, because the costs have gone up so much. So as far as our value proposition, David, yes, it's even increased more with the prices of chlorine going up.
And I think one of the things that the pool service tech needs to know is that you're not really absorbing the cost of the PoolRx. So you're going to pass it on to the client. And you have stuff on your website. You have preformed letters that kind of help the pool tech pass that cost on. You want to go over some of the things that you put out there?
Sure. Yeah. The good, better, best scenario with us is, the good is just buying PoolRx and putting it in your pools. You're still going to be saving. I mean, for the cost of the product compared to the cost of other chemicals you're putting in your pool from your chlorine, you're going to be reducing that by 50%. You're going to be eliminating the need for phosphate removers, and clarifiers, and other algaecides. You're going to be reducing how much you have to shock the pool typically. So you're saving a lot on chemicals there. So that really pays for itself in its own. That's the good. The better is if you're able to, like you said, David, pass along the cost to your customer of the PoolRx. So you're buying it from distribution and you're passing along the cost. You're not even making money on it. And then the best obviously would be to buy the product from distribution and then put a markup on it. And you're making a few bucks on the front end with selling PoolRx at a profit, and then obviously you're saving on the back end by reducing all those other chemicals and eliminating several of those chemicals you may be using right now. So for guys that are doing chemicals included on their routes, this is an absolute no-brainer, and it's really the most cost-effective solution on the market, and even further now with the costs going up of all these other chemicals.
So they can go to the website and get those letters, right?
Yeah, correct. So you would register. You would go to PoolRx.com and you click on the Pool Professional tab at the top. You're going to register with us, and that information you send us is just your basic information. It's just another level to to make sure that you are a pool service provider, not just a homeowner. And what we do is we send you a password, and that password will allow you to get into the Pool Professional section of the website. And at that section, you can scroll down and you will see 5 different pre-written offer letters. And these offer letters are all customizable. They'll come up on the Word program in your computer, and you'll be able to customize them to your specific customer. You'll be able to put them as they're coming from you. You can, cut, copy, paste any of the information in there. If you don't like how it's worded, you can change it. What you do is you save that to your computer, and you can either email it to your customer or you can print it out and put it in the billing. What that does is we've pre-written 5 different ways to help offer this or sell this to your customer base as it's coming from you. So, it'll definitely open up your eyes and your mind on how to speak about PoolRx, depending on the customer you're talking to and depending on kind of the angle you want to approach with them. Again, it's a great way to help you sell it and great way to get you thinking about how to sell it. But really, back to it, David, is this with these prices, it's still an absolute no-brainer. Even putting it in and absorbing the cost up front, you're going to be saving so much more on the back end that it's still going to be a very cost-effective solution for you. Not to mention no algae and less time to spend with the pools.
I think we should also touch on the other side of the cost savings is the algaecide and shocking of a pool. And since we're talking about using 50% less chlorine, we should also mention you don't need to buy algaecides, and you're not going to need to shock the pool with a $5 gallon of liquid chlorine.
Yeah, you're not going to, shocking the pool you're going to have to shock the pool for obviously when your combined chlorine, reaches a point, but you're not going to have to shock the pool because of trying to get rid of algae. And so, yeah, that's definitely going to save you. And yes, you're not going to be using all those other products. So you're going to be spending, less time and money at every pool. It's going to improve your business. It's also going to improve your lifestyle. You're not going to be sweating over these pools and getting those repeat phone calls, from your customers. So you're going to have happier customers. That's going to cost you less per pool to maintain.
For a pool gal out there, one of the things that really slows us down is when you get to a pool, maybe you're jamming in the morning, you got 8 pools done and you got, 6 or 7 left, and you get to Mr. Jones' house and it's covered in algae and you're there for 15 minutes brushing it. And that's a time waster. So we shouldn't neglect talking about the time you save without having to deal with algae. So there's many other aspects of savings besides just money.
Yeah, no, I agree that, you're not getting like I mentioned, the repeat phone call where you're not having to make repeat stops, where they have a party over the weekend and all the chlorine gets consumed and by Monday, Tuesday, the pool's already getting that little tinge of green to it, or it's getting cloudy. The minerals are gonna be there even when you're not there, right? The minerals are always like your kind of safety blanket there. It's just another layer of defense that the minerals are working for you at that pool, even when you can't be. We do need at least 0.5 to 1 part per million of free chlorine in the water for our product to work as advertised. But what you're going to find is you can keep a higher residual. It's going to take you less chlorine to reach that residual. And like I said earlier, David, as it's preventing that microalgae from growing. And so it's going to physically take you less chlorine to reach whatever your target is. But even, if you go down to 0 chlorine, it's going to maintain clarity for a while, but eventually it'll get cloudy. And all you have to do is get your chlorine back up and it'll be crystal clear again. So the good news is that you're not going to get any, big algae blooms, over a weekend or, within a few days. It's going to be very manageable and, very easy to maintain.
The thing that we should also mention is that PoolRx is not a magic bullet. I mean, in the sense of the word, it's not something you put in, forget it. There are some things you have to do, of course, with the filtration and the water quality and the chemistry and the runtime to keep that water quality up. But a lot of comments you're going to get with the PoolRx in the pool is how nice the pool looks, how great everything looks. Let's touch on some of the things like when a customer sees the pool after you put it in there, some of the effects, some of the reasons why they get that kind of wow. And pool techs also, when they put it in there, it's like, wow, this pool looks great.
Good point. And again, to your point on the magic bullet comment, we still require normal pool chemistry ranges, right? And so those are standard for the industry. So we still require those ranges. So you're going to want to get there before installing the product. But so that's a basic understanding, and we can get it more into those ranges and those limits and talk about conditioner and that kind of stuff in a little bit. But regarding the clarity and the polished look of the water, what's happening again, like I mentioned earlier, is even in a clear pool, there's that microalgae that's growing, and the chlorine that you're putting into that water is being consumed. The algae is the biggest consumer of chlorine in the pool. And so what happens when the minerals go in the water is they're really killing and preventing even that microalgae. And so now the chlorine is so much more active and available that it's really now more available to clarify that water. And so, you're seeing water quality and a look to that water that is something you haven't seen before, because that chlorine is so much more active and available. And that's one of the reasons why that water just has that polished look to it.
And I think that's one of the key points, that when you get a PoolRx in the pool, it's going to improve the look of the whole pool overall. And I guess there's a caution, some people are using copper algaecide to kind of treat algae in their pool, which raises the copper level in the water. And before you use the PoolRx, it's a good idea to get a copper test strip and dip it in there to make sure the copper level is within range first, right?
That's correct. Yeah, you want to be, if you're on well water, depending on where you are in the country, well water or old copper plumbing, really old pools, or an old copper heat exchanger for your heater that's been leaching copper into the water, or you've been using copper-based algaecides. Those are all ways that free non-chelated copper get into the water. Before you're adding PoolRx, you're going to want to be at 0.2 parts per million or less of copper in the water. And the reason for that is PoolRx is adding the right amount of minerals, the right amount of copper, and of course now silver and zinc at the right time based on the gallons. And so we're putting the right amount in the water, and our minerals are chelated. They're protected at a molecular level. So they're not going to fall out of solution and stain your pool from over-oxidation or any kind of pH fluctuations. But it does add to the saturation index. So if you have high levels of existing copper in your water, and you're adding PoolRx on top of it, and now you're at a potential saturation point, depending on how high that copper level was prior to install, that free non-chelated copper is now much more sensitive to oxidation or coming out of solution. To your point, David, yeah, you want to be at 0.2 parts per million or less of copper before installing PoolRx. And if not in that range, then you'll be good to go. Our minerals do get used up and filtered out over time. And so people have been using PoolRx since 1994 every year, and we never get to a saturation point because we're putting the right amount of minerals in on the initial install. Those minerals get used up and filtered out over time. And so when you clean your filter, they're out of the water. And so you never get to a point where you're adding too much. And we can go into talking about the booster. The booster is for longer seasons or tough conditions where that original PoolRx minerals get used up. And at some point, you may need to add booster minerals to the pool to raise the mineral content in the water. And so again, back to your point on existing copper, it's pretty easy. Test for that first. If you think you have trace metals in your water, we actually recommend a product called See You Later by Periodic Products. It is a very effective. It's a little polymer baggie that drops in the skimmer, and it physically pulls all trace metals out of the water. And so that's something you can do, once a year. If you do have well water or you have those trace metal issues in your water, we would recommend that product first. And it's going to take a couple of weeks to pull everything out. And then once that's down to all your trace metals are out, then you can install the PoolRx. The See You Later is one product that you're going to want to use that before using PoolRx, because that's the only product on the market that will actually pull PoolRx minerals out of the water. So again, if you have metal issues prior to using PoolRx, we recommend See You Later. Use that for a couple of weeks, retest your water. You're good to go with installing the PoolRx, and you'll be good for moving forward.
The See You Later product is a great product. It works really well. You can just get like a 4.0, put it in the pump basket, run it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then take that out, put the PoolRx in, and you're good to go. I really like the guys over there at the See You Later, and they make a product that's real and that's tangible, that works in the opposite end of the spectrum, and it's a great product. And we can talk about the sizing because you mentioned adding the right amount of minerals. And I think this is important for the listeners that you have the blue and white and black and white unit now. Let's
Correct.
go over the sizing so that they don't put too much minerals in or too little in, and it's going to be ineffective.
Yeah, good point. So the good news is there's a wide range for error. The blue unit is handling pools that are 7,500 to 20,000 gallons. There's 8 ounces of mineral in that unit. And then the black unit handles pools that are 20 to 30,000 gallons. And there's 12 ounces of mineral in that unit and a little bit larger alloy cylinder. And so to your point, for pools that are under 7,500 gallons, we really don't have that, that Entex pool, above ground pool you get at Walmart or Target or something. We don't really have that size for that, 2,000 to 6,000 gallon pool. If you're under 7,500 gallons, you're going to want to either go with our spa units. We have a 1,000-gallon spa unit that you could use, a few of those, depending on how many gallons your pool is. But once you start at 7,500 to 20,000, it's the blue unit. The black unit is actually, there's like I said, a wide range for error. But the black unit for a pool that's 15,000 gallons is going to be fine. You wouldn't want to put the black unit under 15,000 gallons because you come to a point where those minerals don't have room to dissolve into the water. If you overdose the pool, more is not necessarily better. If you overdose the pool with our minerals, it's a granular mineral and it needs to dissolve into solution in the water. And if you overdose a pool, those minerals simply, will dissolve as much as they can into solution, and the excess mineral that can't dissolve will just settle to the bottom of the pool or float around and stick to the scale. And you'll see this kind of blue, kind of marbling color from overdosing the pool. So the good news is there's a wide range for error on that. If your pool is over 30,000 gallons, and I know this is your next question, David, but if your pool's over 30, we also have what we call a PoolRx booster, and the booster handles 7,500 to 20,000 gallons. And so if your pool is 35, 40,000 gallons, you can use the black unit and a booster. And the booster, again, is just a pressed granular tablet. You open up the jar and you're going to dump that tablet into the skimmer or pump basket. And that's going to help raise the mineral content in the water to get to that right gallonage that we can support. And then that mineral will be in solution. And then as all that mineral passes over the original PoolRx unit, the alloy cylinder in that unit will rejuvenate the minerals to allow them to last for up to 6 months.
And of course, if you want to learn more about PoolRx, you can go to their website, PoolRx.com. So it's pretty simple to find. And that letter is there. If you click on that Pool Professional tab, you can find the pre-formatted letters that Fred was talking about for your pool service. And the frequently asked questions are there, along with other great aspects or great product information about the PoolRx itself. Again, Fred Schweer is going to continue his discussion of PoolRx in some follow-up podcasts here. You'll find those podcasts listed in the description of these podcasts here on the podcast site you're listening to, or you can simply go to my website, swimmingforlearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. That'll take you to the podcast hosting site, and then you can type in the search box PoolRx. Just type it as one word, PoolRx, and you're going to see all the episodes of this particular series, plus the previous podcast that I recorded with Fred. I actually have a podcast way back in August 7th, 2017, episode 5, when I first started the podcast show, where I interviewed Fred there. And then, of course, I have 12 other episodes prior to this one here, where I recorded some podcasts with Fred. And these specific podcasts that I'm doing right now are directed towards the PoolRx Plus, but these same things apply to the old PoolRx unit. So the other podcasts are definitely valid. It's still applicable. If you wanted to get more information, you can definitely go there to get those podcasts. Again, swimmingpoollearning.com. You can also learn about my coaching program there. If you want to enhance your business, definitely consider joining the coaching program. You can also learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.